Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here for this particular workshop. So I welcome all of you. I'm sure that some more people might be joining in the near time. So let us start with this topic. Now, teachers, we are all teachers. Now, how many of you remember all your teachers? We have seen teachers right from your school days and your college days. We have come across so many people, so many teachers, but how many of you remember all these teachers? We just remember only a handful of teachers who have really touched our hearts and left our hearts thumping. Those are the inspiring teachers. We have seen good teachers and bad teachers, but always these inspiring teachers will always be remembered in our hearts. As teachers, I would like to dedicate this presentation to all my inspiring teachers who have helped me in molding me into a teacher. Now, this particular scene, when I'm sure that some of us might have experienced, at least in one lecture or two lectures somewhere, you might have seen, right? Especially when you're taking a lecture in the afternoon time, you will see many students might sleep, right? And you guessed it right. This is called as the death by PowerPoint. Sometimes, most often, we just don't care about our presentation skills. We just talk only focusing on the PowerPoint. And this will make the audience to lose interest in the lecture and they just start sleeping. This was wonderfully explained by one of the paper by Professor Harden in Medical Education Journal in 2008, the death by PowerPoint, the need for a fidget index. It's a wonderful paper to read. So in order to go further, how to make our lecture to an outstanding one, and you all have existing skills. I want all of you to sharpen your existing skills and make it into a better level. With that, I want you to tell me why we have to take a lecture. What is the purpose of a lecture? I can always tell you to unmute and you can speak. There is no problem. Why do you deliver a lecture? What is the purpose of a lecture? Or you can type, why a lecture? Can I get any answers? Anyone? Yes, somebody.
Any kind of a concept to teach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, to build a concept. Any more answers? Any more answers you can think of? Okay. So
be a role model to the students.
Be a role model. Wonderful. So here, the first and foremost thing I would suggest is to inspire your students. This is the first purpose of giving a lecture. And the second, to influence. And the third is to inform. But most often in our lectures, what happens is we land up in giving too much of information. We inform too much, influence less, and inspire least. The idea of the lecture is to inspire. We have to be inspiring role models to our teachers. This is what we want to do as a teacher. So how to become an inspiring teacher, a role model to your students, that is what we are going to look at in today's workshop. So I'm going to talk on the hidden elements of teaching and why body language matters. And the objectives of this session would be to differentiate between the verbal and non-verbal communications, to appraise the importance of body language in effective communication, to understand the effective use of body language in your teaching sessions, and also we will be looking at the role-playing sessions and how we can do that, and to look at the pros and cons of role-playing sessions. Now, I will just post a short survey in the chat box if you can access to that. It is just one question. I just want to ask you one question. You can click on that and just give your feedback. And later, towards the end of this workshop, we will again go back to that survey and just to give a reflection of what you felt and what is your feeling at that particular time. Now, how many of you as teachers, we are all teaching now, we are all doing online teaching. How many of you use a web camera in front of you and you open the web camera and you teach through your web camera on? How many of you? I can see about 34 of participants. So those who are using your web camera on, you can always raise your hand and then respond. Okay, I can see only very less hand now. Right now I can see only 3 hands. Even I use. Okay, let us go to the next part. Now, what do you think that the attention span of your students during a lecture is? How much will the attention span of your students when, for example, when you are delivering a 50-minute lecture? What do you think will be their attention span?
10 minutes at max.
10
minutes.
Yeah,
yes.
like every 10 minutes you need to refresh them.
Yes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, different. It is different according to the many research which has been done. They are telling that it's between 10 to 15 minutes. That's why in most of the like medical schools and universities, they have the lecture timing. In most of the places in West, they have like 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes at the most. And many places it is continuing for like 50 or 60 minutes. But when I was going through these articles, I found an interesting article which was published in American Journal on one of the advances in physiology education. In this journal, they showed that they studied several studies. It was a review paper. They studied several of such papers on educational research, and they found that this 10 to 15 minutes, whatever literatures have been quoted or cited, their methodology was not really correct. It was a wrong methodology. And there is also variation from teachers to teachers, students to students. So here they have found that it is the teacher's skills that matters. The teaching ability matters. It's not the actual like psychological effect or something like that. We have had wonderful teachers, and in that 50-minute lecture, we have never taken our eyes off from the teacher. There are wonderful teachers who get involved into the lectures and teach us in a wonderful way. And if you're watching a thrilling movie, you will never tell that you are getting bored, right? Right from the beginning to the end, you will definitely tell that this will be right from the beginning to the end of the movie. You will definitely go through it is exciting. So similarly, we can be like an exciting or a thrilling movie if we do certain things during your lecture. We will go through some of those interesting things, and let us talk on the communication. When we say communication, we often mean that what we say and the words we use, but the interpersonal communication is much beyond this. It is more explicit than the meaning of the words, which includes some of the messages. Some things can be intentional messages, some can be unintentional. By its own, they are the non-verbal behaviors. When your body speaks, whatever the psychologists have studied, and they have found out that most of the things, what is happening in your brain is reflected through your body language. This is a very interesting study, non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, it is not a fixed language with a fixed meaning, which include like facial expressions, your expressions, the hand gestures, what you do, then the voice modulations, what we use during our lecture, and also the posture, how you stand or how you sit, all these matters. So this convey a specific message. When you're going to a lecture hall and when you're smiling at them, you give a good smile just when you enter into the lecture hall. The students will feel that you are very friendly teacher. Instead, you just no smile at all. a reptilian stare, right? And if you do that, the students will feel that you are a strict teacher. Oh, so scared. He's not approachable. I cannot ask any questions. This is the kind of attitude they get. It's a kind of a non-verbal communication, just a facial expression or the gestures, whatever. And if you want to speak or if you want to communicate a message to an individual who is deaf, you want to say that you are looking beautiful. You are looking beautiful. So just by looking at that gesture, that meaning is conveyed. You don't have to speak, just that expression or the hand gestures will give the communication. So this is how the non-verbal communication works. Okay, so different things, we will be coming across now. So the body language, it includes our posture, facial expression, and hand gestures. The significant proportion of human communication is through the non-verbal communication. That's why we are focusing on this particular aspect in today's workshop. It is the conscious or unconscious movements and postures that reflects our feelings, and it provides meaningful information to the audience. Universal gestures: when you see happiness, when you're happy, you smile. If you're for example, a blind man, even when he feels happy, he smiles. By birth, he's blind. He has not seen how the smiling is done, but still, this is a kind of a universal gesture, smiling when you feel happy, right? So sadness, facial expression changes, or when you're anger, the facial expression changes, or when you're scared or fear. So many kind of expressions is there in the, and these are all conveying a specific meaning to the individual who is observing at you, looking at you. In education, the body language technique can powerfully impact your learning of the students. This is in 2017, Hale et al. Has reported that. Now let me come to the golden rule of communication, the 7, 38, and 55 rule in communication. Look at this now. Here, 55% is for the body language, 7% is the words what you use, and 38% is the voice modulation or the vocal variety you use in your lectures. So if you are using effective body language in your lectures, I can tell you that 55% of information is conveyed. Then remaining 45% is through your words, what you use, your vocal variety, and everything. So this is one of the important work which was done by a psychologist, an American psychologist. Now I'll talk on the two types of body languages, the positive and negative body language. Definitely the positive body language is the one which is favoring the learning process. When you have a negative body language, your students will never tend to communicate with you, or they just try to avoid you. We will see some of the things. Now here in this, sorry, this one picture is not, okay, there was a picture which didn't come. So this was just one picture I wanted to show where an individual was just sitting with folded hands. It was folded hands, no eye contact, he's looking somewhere else, minimal facial expression. So this is a kind of a negative body language. It is a negative body language. So whenever we teach, we always have to make sure that we are having a positive body language. What is the body language of a bored audience? Now, when you can see in this picture, the head is directed downwards. He is just sitting. He's a bored audience. Sometimes he's looking at the space somewhere else like this. And most often you see this. For example, if a student is doing this during the lectures, he's looking at the watch and he's scratching on the head, this really means that please stop your lecture, enough is enough, and leave. This is what the meaning he is conveying to you. So be careful when some student is doing this, looking at the watch and scratching, right? So this is the kind of a bored audience. Sometimes if you have pen, they keep on doing this. This is also like fiddling with the pen. So all these are like signs of a bored audience. So when we want to try, this is a confident and a relaxed posture. This is a confident or a positive body language. He's smiling, he's looking at, the body language is the eye contact is there. Everything is looking very positive. Now let us look at what are the signs of examples of positive body language. A relaxed posture. The individual is sitting in a relaxed, comfortable posture. That is a positive body language. Eyebrows shows relaxed eyebrows, shows you are comfortable. Good eye contact. This shows the interest. When you are looking at your audience, you will be always looking into their eyes. When you are inside a lecture hall, your eyes will be scanning through the eyes of the students. So this is a kind of a good sign that you are having good eye contacts. Nodding in agreement. When they ask you some questions, you will be nodding in agreement. Nodding can be different. It can convey different meaning in different countries and different cultures, right? So you will not nod like nodding, some agreement, nodding in agreement. When they ask some question, when student is asking some question, imagine the teacher is just like a pillar, no movement at all. That shows that he is not receptive to that particular question. If you're nodding in agreement, yes, I can hear you and I'm going to respond to you. This is what the meaning is conveyed. A pleasant, friendly smile and leaning forward to show the interest. When the question is directed to the teacher, always the teacher will lean forward. Yes, I can answer. Yes, please. So that leaning forward. So that is a sign of positive body language, or it's a positive body language. Suppose the question is asked, immediately the teacher lean forwards. This is a kind of a backwards. That's the kind of a negative body language. And also the use of gestures. So showing confidence, being non-defensive if the question is asked and suppose the teacher is unable to answer that particular question at that particular moment. See, as teachers, we should realize the fact that we are not superior to everyone, right? We are all learning throughout in our life. So sometimes some of the students might be knowing much more than us because they might have read so many other books and they might have told some points and you said, no, it is wrong. It is not like this. If you are not sure, we are not going to commit or we are not going to fight with the student being non-defensive. So we will tell that, okay, I will refer to that point and get back to you tomorrow. This is what we have to say. And approachable, a friendly, approachable teacher is always very like the students will like them very much. Show the enthusiasm when you teach, when you express, when you are explaining. That enthusiasm should be reflected through your body language, through your vocal variety and everything. And showing non-dominance. These are some of the points which comes under the positive body language. And the negative body languages examples, avoiding the eye contact. This is something which is if you are not looking at that particular student who is asking a question, or if you are not speaking to an audience looking into their eyes. So all these things are like a negative body language. They feel that you're not paying attention at all. Frowning or tense, lack of interest. So frowning, it's a kind of a tensed appearance. Leaning back, as I told, when you're leaning back, when a question is directed, definitely this is a kind of a negative body language. It's also a sign of doubt. When you are not sure what to say, you always tend to do this. Now I will tell you 6 key ingredients to effective body language. One is your posture. Second, your eye contact. Then use of vocal variety, facial expressions, hand gestures. So these are the things which we will be going through. Now let me take you to a power pose. Right from the animal kingdom, you will see this power poses. when a snake is being threatened, it will attain a power pose, a sign of dominance. That when it is already the animal is scared, snake is scared, like so, but they just do a power pose just to show that they are dominant, don't come near me, right? So they are poisonous. So this is a kind of thing which we see even in the animal kingdom. When cats are fighting, you can see that one of this is attaining a dominant posture and the other one is in a submissive posture. The body language changes there. Gorilla, often you will see that that is also attaining, that's a sign of dominance. Definitely human beings also show this. You might have seen in Olympics, when you win a medal, the athletes, when they win a medal, what they do, they just raise their hands and show that kind of sign, right? So you can see here, right? So this is shown by even human beings. So this is a kind of attaining a power pose. So the researchers have studied and found out that taking a power pose before you give a lecture or before you give a public speaking, this will make you more confident. Dr. Amy Cuddy, she is one of the leading researchers who study in the body language, and her research revealed that we can change the other person's perceptions and perhaps your own body chemistry simply by changing your posture. She has found out the neuroendocrine responses changes according to the posture. It's a very interesting study. She is a TED speaker. She is also one of the faculty member in Harvard Business School. If you see, just Google it, you will see hundreds of videos. She's a wonderful person who have done a lot of research in this body language. She did excellent work on power posing. In this, what she did is she brought few of the subjects from like both males and females from a university, and after that they divided, and each of them were told, one group were told to perform positive body language, 2 postures with positive body language just for 2 minutes. One posture, 1 minute, and the second posture, another 1 minute. So 2 minutes, and they were just called into an empty room. Video cameras were kept, and they did the power pose, this positive body language. Another group, they did the negative body language. Before entering into the room, they did a salivary sample and they collected the saliva and took the 2 hormone levels, the testosterone and cortisol. These 2 hormones levels were evaluated. After that, this was the low power pose. That means this is a negative body language. You are just like covering your body, or you are just sitting. So this is a kind of a negative body language, low power pose for 1 minute. This is another type of low power pose, leaning forward and just this kind of thing. So whenever your body is not in an open posture, it is in this kind of posture is always a negative body language or a low power pose. So this was done with one group of people, and the other group, they did high power poses, which are the positive ones. The high, you can keep that the hands on the waist, or it is kept like the. So this kind of postures was done for about 1 minute. After that, the salivary hormonal assay was done. Look at this. It's very interesting. The testosterone levels for those who have done with the high power pose, that was higher when compared to the low power pose, and the cortisol level was lower in the high power pose individuals when compared to the low power pose. For your information, the testosterone, that hormone will be improving or making you more confident. It will be making you more confident. At the same time, cortisol is a hormone which is released during stressful situation. So you can see that those who have taken a positive power stroke, pose, these individuals had more of testosterone and less cortisol. That means they are less stressful. So this was done after they were allowed to do a particular gambling experiment with $50. There was a gambling experiment which was done. And after that, they took the salivary sample, and this was the fascinating result. So they just compared that this 2 minutes of power pausing has even changed their blood chemistry. Right? So this is something which is interesting. So it is always better to take a power pause to boost your confidence and then go for the particular lecture or speech or whatever. I still remember when I went for my first lecture almost 19 years ago. My first lecture, I have never done such a lecture after my post-graduation. When I went, there was about 135 students, medical students, who was waiting in a gallery class. My heart started beating and I was waiting outside. And my professor and head came to me and just patted on my shoulder, and he said, "Yes, man, you can do it." He just told me, just take a deep breath, take a power pause, go to the particular lecture hall and rock it. So I did that. And I'm not exaggerating. At the end of that was the first lecture. And I told the students that this is the first lecture I'm delivering to you for this batch and in my career. And I got clapping. So this kind of thing, what the positive things, what we received, we'll never forget in our life. So this is a kind of a confident thing. Power pose. So usually when you look at these two pictures, you can see that the first one, it's a kind of an insecure posture, whereas the right side, you can see that it's a very confident posture, right? So the raised chest, shoulders, everything this is a kind of a confident posture. So your postures make a lot of difference. Even if you're sitting or even if you're standing, when somebody is observing you, your body language actually reflects what is going on in your mind. So here you can see that hands in the pocket or crossed legs, as if you are searching something inside the pocket. Right? This is a kind of a tensed individual. Just leave your hands, just open up your arms, and then confidently you speak. So here also you can see, then you can see that he is looking down. So there is no eye contact, hands again in the pocket. So all these things are negative signs or negative body languages. So always they say that open stance, taking an open stance is the one which is considered to be a positive body language, and the students or the audience prefer the speaker to have such a body language. Eye contact, another important aspect. Again, I will give you an example for one of my teachers. Now, if you might think this guy is always telling about the teachers, I'm not criticizing my teachers. Definitely, I have learned so many things from my teachers, but when we are learning, take the positive aspect from the teachers. Many things might be negative also, so let us ignore that. But I just wanted to give you an example. There was a teacher, an anatomy teacher, who used to come to our lecture hall, and he never used to look into the eyes. He never used to look into the eyes of the teacher or of the audience or the students. He will be just looking at the wall at the backside like this. When he is looking at the wall and he starts teaching, we all used to think why he is always like that. In fact, one of our colleague asked, "Why, sir, why you are not looking into our eyes?" So he is telling that I get nervous when I look into the eyes. So I prefer teaching. He was an experienced teacher. I'm not telling that he is not a newcomer. He was an experienced teacher. He was an associate professor. So this is a very bad body language, that eye contact, maintaining the eye contact. So always we need to just scan through the eyes so that the students also feel that they are attentive, the teacher is observing or looking at you. This is something which we need to be careful. So maintain the eye contact. Now, how to say it? Good vocal variety is very much essential with good voice modulations. The right volume, the right rate, it should not be too fast or too slow. if I start speaking with a feeble voice, today I'm going to talk on body language. Nobody will be attentive. You will just start sleeping. Usually the first 10 to 15 seconds when you start your lecture, that is the most crucial point. At that point, if you just try to do something differently, and if you don't drag the attention of your students, then finished. The whole lecture is spoiled. So here, write volume, write the rate of your speech. This is also very important. You cannot be too fast or too slow. For example, one of my teacher, we call him explosive master. Why? Because he speaks in such an explosive fashion. On enzyme kinetics, when he came, he started like this. Enzymes are chemical substances that fastens the chemical reaction. So sometimes, according to the movement of the wind, we can pick up certain words, what he is trying to say. Other things, no, we cannot hear certain things because he makes it very low. The volume is very low, and those who are sitting at the back row, we couldn't hear anything because those days we never used to have these kind of collar mics and everything. So he never used to speak in a loud way. We cannot hear. So this is a kind of not a good vocal variety. At the same time, another teacher who's super fast express, very fast. He just enters into the classroom and he just start, not even wishing us, he just start. In the last class, we were discussing about iron metabolism. Today, we will be talking about the hemoglobin. See, where is the time to take down the notes? He is not giving us any time to take down the notes. We were all struggling how to follow. Then one guy brought a recording instrument and he used to record what he is saying because we are not able to write down the notes because there was no PowerPoint. Again, nobody will be giving you PowerPoint. You need to just make the notes when he is discussing. So when we are speaking, make sure that our volume and then rate, it all should be matching and in a proper pitch, tone, everything matters, and use of power of pauses, a very important part. I'll talk about that. What about humor in teaching? I'm sure that most of us use humor in teaching. Again, humor favors the learning experience, but if it is too humorous, it can take away the attention of the student. The students will carry it away with that humor. But definitely good humor at that particular time will make the students understand better. Again, a teacher who was a physiology professor, we all like him. He was a fantastic teacher. He has a characteristic type of way of explaining. Once he was talking about the muscle contraction. So he was discussing like this. From the nerve, the action potentials were traveling. It reached the muscle, depolarizes the muscle, and the muscle contracts. And he banged on the desk. Then he told, doesn't matter if my hand pains, the idea should enter your brain. We all started laughing. There was laughter, but in that laughter, there was learning. That was the inspiring teachers. So when we try to crack jokes, it should be appropriate. It should be relevant. Sometimes when the teacher cracks jokes and he himself will laugh, students all will be so serious, right? So we need to be very careful when we are cracking jokes at some point. So many literatures have been done or works have been done on the effective use of humor in teaching. Then these are some of the articles which you can see. Then the use of silence. Silence is golden. A well-placed pause or silence add variety or drama and clarity to your speech. I'll tell you an incident here. Usually in our case-based learning, we always used to teach one topic on the myocardial infarction. Now tomorrow I have a CBL, by the way. Every time when this topic is brought in, I always make sure to create a kind of a dramatic way I used to introduce this topic. A 60-year-old man came with so-and-so symptoms. He started getting severe pain on his chest, to the left shoulder, inner aspect of the arm. He started sweating. He was rushed into the emergency. Then ECG was done. There was a specific ST segment elevation. So this is a kind of a signs and symptoms of atypical myocardial infarction. Now he was rushed into the emergency room. CPR started, 1, 2, started. You can hear the sound of the beeps. Beep, 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 beep. Silent. He's gone. Sometimes when you create such vocal variety, that particular silence will convey a specific meaning. At the end of that CBL, I just asked the students, how did you feel the CBL after the discussion and everything? They all told that it was fantastic. We all felt that we were inside that emergency room at that particular moment. My dear teachers, your vocal variety can do magic. They can help them to realize that situation, right? You can recreate that situation with your voice. So this is something which we can think of. So this is the ideal way by which you can use the rate. It will be always in the center. That means it should not be too slow or too fast. It should be in the middle. Again, when the pitch, it should not be a high pitch or low pitch. Again, the volume or the intensity, you cannot shout or you cannot whisper. It should be moderate. That will be the ideal way by which you can use the vocal variety. And the power of hand gestures. This is again a very important point. How you can use effective hand gesture when you are using the hand gestures in teaching. When you are using, if you want to explain three actions, I want to explain 3 actions of a hormone. Action number 1, action number 2, and action number 3. So when we show in this way, like the powerful hand gestures, that will convey certain meanings and they will understand better. There is a lot of research which has been done on the use of hand gestures and the students' ability to understand the things. So just share that in the next slide. But remember, powerful hand gestures are important. Instead of that, if I just fold my hands and sit like this and I tell, there are 3 actions in for this hormone, action number 1, action number 2, and action number 3. So this doesn't make much sense to many people as they are observing and analyzing the things. And wrong hand gestures are also important to note, and especially when it comes to the culture. Depending upon which country you are speaking, you cannot, because some places where pointing is a kind of a disrespect, right? So kind of thing, we need to always make sure that when you are using the hand gestures, use the appropriate hand gestures according to the cultural values. Here, the world champion of public speaking in Toastmasters International. And I don't know how many of you know this is an international organization. So this, in 2014, this particular person, Dhananjaya, he won the world champion of public speaking. This is about after defeating 20,000 people across the globe. I am a member of this Toastmasters International. In 2015, Mohammed Al-Khatani from Saudi Arabia, he was the world champion of public speaking in 2015. And Darren Tay in 2016. Look at the expressions, the gestures they are using. Always you can see that the inner aspect of their arm, the palms, it is always shown to the audience. They use their hand gestures when they are giving a dialogue, when they speak. Along with that, the hand gestures or the movement should be made. Or make your hand gestures purposeful. If somebody is going for an exam, usually you will wish good luck, good luck. Instead of that, nobody will do like this, right? This is something wrong, or it's a kind of a no, it's not good, that kind of meaning. In different places, different meaning will be there, but definitely according to that, use your hand gestures purposely. You have another 15 minutes. This is a confident speaker. So I wanted to tell you about the mirror neurons. Just wanted to look into the neuroscience of why hand gestures is important. Look at this picture. Two monkeys you can see. One monkey is holding a banana, and when it is doing that action, you can see that the mirror neurons in the cortex, it fires. Action potentials are produced in that neurons, it fires. The same activity is happening, the same firing of neurons is happening when the monkeys see this action being performed by an individual. This is what happens in your student's brain when you use the hand gestures. And this has been done, communicative hand gestures and object-directed movements, they activates the mirror neuron. This was one of the interesting work, and mirror neuron has very important role in facilitating the learning process. So if you can stimulate the mirror neuron by using your hand gestures, definitely learning will occur. That is the basis. Then micro expressions, which is known to be the reflection of your mind. I just want to tell this because it is a part of the body language, though we cannot see the micro expression with naked eye. They are facial expression that occur within a fraction of a second. So with naked eye, it is very difficult to see that micro expression unless you record that particular individual's video and then you play back in a slow speed, then you can see the micro expressions. They are involuntary emotional leakage that exposes a person's emotion. This is very frequently used by the investigators, right? For like FBI and those kind of criminal investigations, they use this when they are interrogating the individuals. You can see the face of contempt. So you can see that one part of the lips that is just lifted, like, so this is a kind of expression on, and also when you have a real smile and a fake smile, people can make out, because always when you have a real smile, you can see that near the eye region, the eye muscles, these muscles will be also contracting when you are making a real smile. The upper part of the face will be also affected. At the same time, when you make a fake smile, only the lower half of the face is being involved. So you can, a person who really know about this, they will know that whether he is doing a real smile or a fake smile. So be careful. Now I will talk on the nose of a body language. You can see from the picture two different individuals, one with a positive attitude, another one with a negative. You can see that the legs are apart in the positive individual. So when you keep your legs apart, that is a sign of a positive language. Then when the feet is kept together, that is a negative body language. And also you can see that the pockets, hands inside the pocket. So that's a negative sign language. Right, so there are different things like this. So maintaining the eye contact with the audience, avoid talking to the blackboard and to the projector. This sometimes I have seen people doing this. When they are writing something, they speak along with that. That's not correct. Write something, turn towards your students and start speaking. And when you are looking at the projector, like this kind of thing, looking at the projector. So this is not a good eye contact. Show passion to the topic. Again, do not hide behind the lectern. When you have the lectern in front of you, people will try to take refuge behind it, holding the lectern. Hands are shivering, so holding the lectern and then taking refuge behind the lectern. So it's a kind of a negative sign language. So avoid podium palsy. You are resting on the podium. Podium is actually meant for keeping certain small things just to read or anything like a bottle of water or anything like that. So here, this individual, you can see that if you give some more time, he will sleep on the podium. So this is podium palsy. So here you can see again a confident speaker and a tensed speaker tending to hold onto the podium. So always when we are presenting something to the particular students, or you're talking to an audience, make sure that your body language is very essential. Adopt an open stance with uncrossed arm, right? When you are closing, this is this kind of thing that you are not welcoming anything, right? A closed stance. So this is not good, but always an open stance. This is a sign of a confident speaker. Never stand in front of the projector. If you are wearing a white shirt and stand in front of the projector, you will be a walking projector, right? You will be a walking projector or a moving projector. Everything will be reflected on you. So instead, you can use a slide changer with a pointer, right? This will be helping you. Vocal variety, avoid monotone, right? From one particular tone you start speaking, it is a monotonous thing. Nobody will be interested. And avoid touching your face. When a question is asked, you just do it like this, or just do. So this is a kind of a negative sign language that you are not confident. That's a sign of dishonesty. There is a wonderful article which came in Medical Teacher, which has 12 tips for effective body language for medical educators. This is a very good paper. I've taken most of the information from this paper. If you can get a chance to, if you have a chance to read that, please see that. Or if you want a copy, I have a full PDF copy of this article. Now let us talk on how about your online lectures. Now, if you look at, if you are not using the web camera, then you're missing 55% of the intended materials which you are going to deliver. The communication is not happening. Only 45% of things are happening. 55%, because the students are not seeing you. They are not looking at your body language. This particular, this is what the question which I had actually posted, that how many of you were using the web camera, and I saw only, I think, 3 hands or something. But still, this one, please take it very seriously, because this has a scientific basis for that. Now, another question you might tell that I don't have a web camera. Right, survey results anyway, I'm not showing now because we didn't do it. But in last week, I had a workshop. In that, 60% of the people told that they are not opening the camera. So it's a very big number. And there are about many people told that they are not interested in opening, or they don't want to open the web camera. So this kind of thing, see, when you are doing a face-to-face lecture or a physical lecture, definitely they are seeing you. So how come when you're doing an online lecture, why can't you open the camera? It will be better that you do this, because students will understand better. With this semester onwards, I started using web camera, and I started getting the feedback from the students. I asked them, for example, some of my anatomy colleagues itself was telling that it was very difficult to explain the extension and this kind of movements, right? See this movement. It is very if you want to show the biceps and the triceps movement of that, it is very difficult to show without showing the particular students that flexion and extension. How, without showing this, how the students will understand? Just by your voice, it is difficult. Otherwise, you might have to show some animations on that. So it will be, again, taking time consuming. So it is better to do this. So this was the particular question which I had actually posted in that survey, but definitely we can all keep in mind. Now, if you have this doubt that you don't have a web camera with you, don't worry, you always have a mobile camera with you. You can always convert your mobile camera into a good web camera by just downloading this software, Irian software. It's a webcam software. It's a freely downloadable one. You just install it. Some of our staff have already installed it and they are using it. And you can see that this will be the instructor's view. You can see that the phone is kept there and the student can easily see that in the side, that whenever they click on that, they can see an enlarged view of the teacher. So this is a wonderful way by which you can do your online lessons. So the 6 tips to improve your online teaching. Now, this is a kind of a role playing in neurophysiology teaching where I try to do the Mexican waves. I'm sure that you know the Mexican wave where people will be just standing up and doing this. This is just to teach them about the action potential, traveling of action potential across the unmyelinated neuron. This we did last time here in Kaushik. So this is something which the students really enjoyed. At the end, when we took a feedback, the students told that, yes, it was very good. Even now, when I go to College of Medicine, the students will tell, yes, we still remember that. It was very interesting. So something where they can be involved. We also did something, this was some of my previous university, where we tried to demonstrate the location and the position of the vestibular apparatus and how it is stimulated. This was done by a role play because there is no time, so I just skipping that. And also role play lecturing in neuroscience. This is also one of my old study which I had done in my previous university. You can see a small clipping from that.
In Parkinson's disease, the patient attains a stooped posture with marked bradykinesia. He takes very short steps. Turning is accomplished with many small steps. There is also a lack of swinging of arms, which is known as decreased associated movements during walking.
So these are some of the studies which we have done before.
Chorea is an abnormal involuntary movement disorder characterized by rapid involuntary movements of hands and feet that resembles dancing. It is a primary feature associated with Huntington's disease and also.
Now in your teaching, if you want to do, this is one of the study which was done in protein synthesis. I'm sure that there is a biologist, there is biochemistry faculty members who want to teach protein synthesis. You can use a good role play with the students when the time permits after the corona and everything, COVID and everything. And mitosis and meiosis can be taught in this way. So several things. So you can be creative and try to do this particular role play sessions so that they will learn it better. What are the benefits? It can motivate and engage the students, and it can provide the real world scenario. Why I did all these clinical things for the first year students, because they're not seeing the patients at that particular time. At the same time, in their syllabus, these details of these disorders are there. So how can we explain these things without showing them how a patient looks like or what is the symptoms of the patient? That is the relevance of doing the role playing. And whatever learned skills used in the real world scenarios like negotiation, debate, teamwork, cooperation, everything, these sessions will be helpful. They will also provide them for a better opportunity by critically observing their own peers when they do this. Disadvantages is that it is time consuming because you need to plan well ahead. You need to give training after designing. You need to conduct training sessions for the group of students who are going to do the role play. And finally, you will be telling these students to perform it in front of the whole the classroom. Some students might be reluctant to participate. Yes, all may not be there, and also their imagination also matters. If you have delivered conveyed a proper message to them, then only they will be able to deliver it. So a perfect lecture should be lively, educative, creative, thought-provoking, understandable, relevant, and enjoyable. And these are the ingredients of a good lecture. At least some of this component, if we can bring in the lecture, you will definitely become an inspiring teacher to your students. And great teachers are not born, they are made. I always believe in that. And these are some references which I used in my study. And I also am fortunate to meet the world champion of public speaking in their workshops, in their public speaking workshops in the year 2015 and 16. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, I would be more happy.